California State Senator Ben Allen for the next few minutes. He's a Democrat. Welcome back to the show. We talked to you a number of times during the fires. What would you say about the way this is being handled? You have an issue with the president in terms of deploying the military, especially now the Marines joining the National Guard?
Yeah, I want to see the president work with the governor and the local officials. This is the first time since 1956 that the president has decided to step in with federalized military right in a state without the permission, without the cooperation of the local officials. And back then, that was done by President Eisenhower to protect Black kids who wanted to go to school. This time around, he's sending in these folks basically to address a situation where he was purposely inciting people to get agitated because he's wanted to go out and arrest regular folks, brown kids that wanted to go to school, regular folks that were just trying to do a job.
Right.
I think people elected President Trump on immigration. They wanted him to go after criminals, gang members, those kinds of folks. That's not what's going on here.
Let me play the argument that the defense secretary made in his testimony today. The other one that we would add to what your example was, I think, was 65 LBJ. Again, civil rights marchers being protected in Alabama. Again, different than here, right? That said, Hegseth makes this argument, or did, in front of Congress today. Take a listen.
You asked about the situation in Los Angeles, and we believe ICE agents should be allowed to be safe in doing their operations, and we have deployed National Guard and the Marines to protect them in the execution of their duties, because we ought to be able to enforce immigration law in this country.
So his argument, Senator, is these federal agents are coming in to enforce the law, and they're not getting the help, or they're not made safe by the local authorities out there. You say?
I say... when you go in and you look at all the statements being made by folks in the White House, this whole thing seems to be about trying to provoke. It's not about safety. It's about creating tension to score political points. If they were targeting people who were involved with gangs, if they were targeting people who had criminal records or any sort of criminal behavior activity, that argument would feel better to me. But it seems as though their core goal here is to try to provoke tension on our streets, right, and to provoke fighting.
And there has been a provocation, right? There has been violence as part of these protests. We've been showing for the last hour or so very, very peaceful gatherings since 1 o'clock in the afternoon. But at night, there has been violence. So have the protesters themselves hurt their own cause? In other words, some of this backfired as the American people watch the violence at night. And, do you worry if you sympathize with these protesters in their cause that they're hurting themselves?
The vast majority of the protesters are there peacefully. They're singing, they're dancing. A lot of my colleagues were there. I got to hear about them just today at an event. But it's true. By the time when things go to the nighttime, we see this every time there's tension. There's always a few stragglers who want trouble, and that's of course where all the attention goes. So it's a sad situation. I say to those people, stand the F down. All you're doing is playing into President Trump's narrative. And you're ruining it for both the immigrants that you purport to care about and the vast majority of the people who have been trying to voice their dissent and their disagreement in a purely peaceful way. But as is typical, there's always a few stragglers at the end who want to create some tension, and they're playing right into Donald Trump's hands.
State Senator Ben Allen, Democrat, California. Thanks for coming back on the show again today. It was good to talk to you. Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.